The 1970s, disco fever swept the globe, and from the heart of Germany emerged a group that would define an era. Boney M. Their infectious rhythms, catchy melodies, and flamboyant performances ignited dance floors worldwide. Boney M became synonymous with disco. They were more than just a band, they were a sensation. Their music transcended borders and languages. Daddy Cool, Sonny, Rasputin. These weren't just songs, they were anthems. Boney M brought joy to millions. They provided the soundtrack to a generation. But behind the dazzling costumes and infectious energy lay a more complex story. His name was Frank Farian, a German producer with an ear for a hit. Farian had a concept. He imagined a group that blended Caribbean rhythms with European disco, and so Boney M was born. Farian assembled a group of talented individuals: Liz Mitchell, Marcia Barrett, Maisie Williams, and Bobby Farrell. Each brought their own unique energy to the group, but Farian was the architect. He controlled the sound, the look, the very essence of Boney M. Frank Farian had his concept. Now, he needed the talent. He scoured the music scene looking for individuals who could embody his vision. He found Maisie Williams, a model-turned-singer from the Caribbean island of Montserrat. Williams had charisma. She had stage presence. She was a natural fit for Farian's project. Next came Bobby Farrell, a charismatic dancer from Aruba. Farrell was a ball of energy on stage. His wild moves and infectious enthusiasm would become synonymous with Boney M's live performances. Farian had found his frontman, but Farian needed vocalists. He needed voices that could bring his disco creations to life. He found Marcia Barrett, a talented singer from Jamaica. Barrett had power, she had range, she could deliver the soaring vocals that Farian envisioned. And then there was Liz Mitchell, also from Jamaica. Mitchell had a unique voice, soulful, emotive, and perfect for the blend of disco and Caribbean rhythms that Farian was crafting. With Mitchell on board, the vocal core of Boney M was complete. The group was formed, but success wasn't immediate. Their first album, Take the Heat Off Me, was released in 1976. It featured a mix of songs. Some were covers, others were originals. But the album didn't make a huge impact. Boney M needed a breakthrough. They needed a song that would capture the world's attention. They toured relentlessly, performing in discos, clubs, and even country fairs. They were determined to make a name for themselves, to prove themselves as a force to be reckoned with in the competitive world of disco. And then came their big break. A fateful invitation to appear on a popular West German music show called Musikladen. This was their chance. Their opportunity to show the world what they were capable of. Section 3, Daddy Cool, A Star Is Born, September 18, 1976. Boney M took the stage on Musikladen. They were an explosion of energy, dazzling costumes, vibrant choreography, and an undeniable stage presence. And then the music started. Daddy Cool, a pulsating bass line, a catchy chorus. Liz Mitchell's powerful vocals soared over the infectious groove. The audience went wild. Boney M had found their sound, and the world was about to take notice. Daddy Cool shot to #1 in West Germany. It wasn't long before the song took over Europe. Boney M had their first smash hit. They were no longer just another disco group. They were stars. Section 4, Conquering Europe. Daddy Cool was just the beginning. Boney M followed up with another disco anthem, Sonny, a cover of the Bobby Hebb classic, given a Boney M twist. Sonny became a global phenomenon. It topped charts across Europe. Boney M were unstoppable. Their first album, Take the Heat Off Me, was re-released. This time it soared up the charts. Boney M were now international stars. Their blend of disco, funk, and Caribbean influences had captured the world's imagination. They were the sound of the era. Their success was a testament to Farian's vision. He had created a group that transcended borders. Their music was a universal language. Boney M had arrived, and they were here to stay. Section 1, Love for Sale, Cementing Their Stardom, 1977. Boney M were on top of the world. Daddy Cool and Sonny had made them global superstars, but they weren't content to rest on their laurels. They were back in the studio, ready to prove they were more than just a one-hit wonder. Their second album, Love for Sale, arrived with a bang. The title track was pure disco fire, but it was another song that would cement their place in music history. Ma Baker, inspired by the legend of Ma Barker, the notorious American gangster, Farian crafted a story of crime and passion. Ma Baker was a worldwide smash. It topped charts across Europe. Boney M were now bona fide pop icons. Section 2, Night Flight to Venus, Reaching New Heights, 1978. Disco was at its peak. And so were Boney M. They were unstoppable. Their third album, Night Flight to Venus, was about to launch them into the stratosphere. This was more than just an album. It was an experience. From the opening strains of the title track, listeners were transported to another world. A world of disco beats, soaring strings, and unforgettable melodies. Night Flight to Venus was a masterpiece. And then came Rivers of Babylon, a song that would become their signature tune. A blend of gospel, reggae, and disco, Rivers of Babylon was a global phenomenon. It topped charts worldwide. It became one of the biggest selling singles of all time. Boney M had reached the pinnacle of pop stardom. Section 3. Global domination, from the Soviet Union to the United States. Boney M's success knew no bounds. They were international superstars. Their music transcended the Iron Curtain. They toured the Soviet Union, performing for massive crowds. A rare feat for a Western group at the height of the Cold War. Even the United States, the birthplace of disco, embraced Boney M. Rivers of Babylon stormed the charts, reaching the top 30. A significant achievement for a European act in the competitive American market. Boney M were more than just a band. They were a cultural force. Their music united people across borders and ideologies. They were a testament to the power of music to transcend differences. Section 4, Mary's Boy Child, a holiday classic. As the year drew to a close, Boney M had one more surprise up their sleeve. A Christmas gift to the world, Mary's Boy Child, Oh My Lord, a medley of traditional Christmas carols given the Boney M treatment. The song became an instant holiday classic. It topped the charts in the UK, becoming their second Christmas #1. It was a testament to their versatility, their ability to turn their hand to any genre and make it their own. 1978 had been a phenomenal year for Boney M. They had released 2 chart-topping albums. They had conquered the world with their unique blend of disco, pop, and Caribbean rhythms. They were at the height of their powers. But behind the scenes, cracks were beginning to show. The pressures of fame and the complexities of their internal dynamics would soon test the group's unity. Boney M projected an image of unity. 4 individuals from different corners of the globe, united by the power of music. But the reality was more complex. Behind the dazzling costumes and infectious energy, there were tensions. Frank Farian's tight control over the group created resentment. He was the mastermind, the architect of their sound. But his control extended to every aspect of their career, from their image to their performances. This created a divide. The members were performers, but they had little creative input. They were puppets on Farian's disco string. And this led to frustration, particularly for Bobby Farrell. Bobby Farrell was the face of Boney M. His electrifying dance moves were legendary. He brought an untamed energy to their live shows. But Farrell had a secret. He didn't sing on the records. Farian used his own voice for the male vocals. He claimed Farrell's voice wasn't suited for studio recording. This was a common practice in disco at the time, but for Farrell it was a source of humiliation. He was the frontman, the one the fans adored. Yet, he was silenced on their biggest hits. This created a rift between Farrell and Farian, a rift that would eventually lead to Farrell's departure from the group. By the early 1980s, the cracks were starting to show. The pressures of fame, the constant touring, and the lack of creative control took their toll. The group dynamic became increasingly strained. Marcia Barrett, the powerhouse vocalist, was also unhappy with Farian's control. She felt her talent was being stifled. She wanted more freedom to express herself musically. Maisie Williams, the group's dancer and visual focal point, was also sidelined when it came to the recordings. Farian didn't believe her voice fit the Boney M sound. This further fueled resentment within the group. The internal conflicts within Boney M were a stark contrast to their public image. They were the kings and queens of disco. Their music brought joy to millions. But behind the scenes, there was turmoil. These tensions would eventually lead to the group's downfall. The magic that had united them began to fade. The illusion of unity was shattered. Boney M's legacy, once untouchable, was now tinged with a touch of sadness. The group that had brought the world together with their music was being torn apart from within. The disco dream was fading, and Boney M would soon become a memory, forever marked by both triumph and tragedy. By the early 1980s, the disco craze was waning. The infectious beats and carefree spirit that had defined the 1970s were giving way to new sounds. New wave, synth pop, and a grittier form of rock began to dominate the airwaves. Boney M, once at the forefront of musical innovation, now found themselves facing an uncertain future. Their once reliable formula of catchy melodies and danceable rhythms began to feel dated. The charts, once dominated by their infectious hits, were now filled with the music of a new generation. Boney M had to adapt or fade into obscurity. Their 1981 album, Bunununus, was an attempt to stay relevant. It featured a more experimental sound, incorporating elements of new wave and electronic music. But the album failed to capture the same magic as their earlier work. The critics were lukewarm, and the public, eager for something new, moved on. Boney M's grip on the charts was slipping. The decline in popularity coincided with growing internal tensions. Bobby Farrell, the group's charismatic frontman, had always chafed under Frank Farian's control. His frustration at not singing on the records, coupled with the group's waning success, led to a bitter split in 1981. Farrell's departure marked a turning point for Boney M. Farian replaced Farrell with Reggie Sebo, a talented singer from Ghana. But Sebo, though a competent performer, could never replicate Farrell's electrifying stage presence. The group felt incomplete, the magic diminished. Boney M became a revolving door of members. Liz Mitchell remained the one constant, her powerful vocals still the heart of the group's sound. But even her talent couldn't compensate for the loss of Farrell's charisma and the group's increasingly formulaic music. Boney M were a shadow of their former selves, clinging to past glories. Throughout the 1980s and 1990s, Boney M continued to tour and release music. But the spark was gone. They were no longer trendsetters, but rather a nostalgia act, reliving the glory days of disco. Attempts to recapture their former success were met with indifference. Various lineups emerged, each claiming to be the real Boney M. Legal battles ensued, further tarnishing the group's image. The music, once a source of joy and unity, was now overshadowed by conflict and bitterness. Despite the turmoil, Boney M's music never entirely disappeared. Their hits continued to be played on radio stations worldwide. Their songs featured in movies, TV shows, and even commercials. A new generation discovered their infectious rhythms and catchy melodies. But the group itself remained fractured, a pale imitation of the powerhouse that had once ruled the disco inferno. Boney M may have faded from the charts, but their impact on music and popular culture remains undeniable. Their infectious blend of disco, pop, and Caribbean rhythms left an indelible mark on the sound of the late 1970s. Their music transcended borders and languages, creating a global community united by the joy of dance. Their influence can still be heard today, in the music of contemporary artists who sample their iconic hooks and grooves, in the resurgence of disco-inspired sounds that dominate dance floors worldwide. Boney M's music has stood the test of time, a testament to its enduring appeal. Beyond the music, Boney M left a legacy of spectacle and showmanship. Their flamboyant costumes, high-energy performances, and captivating stage presence set a new standard for pop acts. They understood the power of visual presentation, of creating an experience that went beyond simply playing music. Boney M's story is a reminder that music can transcend cultural and political barriers. Their songs brought people together during a time of global tension. They provided a soundtrack for joy, escapism, and unity. And in a world often divided, that legacy is more valuable than ever.